Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Last time around we had Emperor Crimson versus Metallic, where basically Doppio fought Risotto, and we learned that Doppio has the power of eulogy, which allows him to see up to 10 seconds into the future and act accordingly. Now everything that happens in this vision, well, happens. Like, you can't avoid it, but Doppio figured out how to, not really get around it, but figure out what it really is. Like, there was one instance where it looked like he lost his foot. Turns out, Risotto lost his foot. Anyway, there was a whole big fight. We also figured out Risotto's power was to basically control iron, and he mainly did that by controlling the iron in someone's blood and forming it into razors and shit. But eventually, despite Doppio losing a lot of the iron in his blood and thus the oxygen, he was able to use that to his advantage so that Narancia, who was spying through Lil Bomber, could only see Risotto's breath and shot and killed him. So yeah, that was pretty much that. The boss and Doppio managed to win, and that's pretty much where we left off. So yeah. Like always, the reaction is down in the description and in the pinned comment for your viewing pleasure. So let's go ahead and jump right into this episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Here we go. Welp. He's just fucking dead. I have accepted now, like, in my life, that I am never going to understand the boss. At all. I've just given up on trying to make sense of him. He swapped with some kid. Did he just do that quickly, or I don't know. He swapped with a kid. He took himself out of time, I guess, for half a second so that Risotto would die. I don't know. I'm just going to give up on understanding the boss. If that is maybe the one... Well, I say one. I've had a couple complaints in Part 5, but they've been minor. If that's one of the maybe more larger complaints I would have about Part 5, and granted, we still have, 10 episodes left, I think? 10 or 11 episodes left of Part 5, is that, yeah, I don't get the boss. I don't. But granted, we don't know everything. We don't know everything. We just figured out what he looked like, but we don't know. We still don't know his name. So. Okay. Abbacchio's dead. Abbacchio is just dead. He still succeeded. He still succeeded in giving them what they were after. The boss has failed that. The boss failed that, but he's dead. Alright. Okay. He's dead. He's just straight up dead, and it was instant. There's nothing to be done about it. Yeah. He's dead. He's just dead. That is so crazy that it's just... He's just dead, you know? And I mean, like... You know... With the timing of it... With the timing of where this death is... This feels very Caesar, you know? Because Part 1, did anyone die? I mean, like... Jonathan's dad died. But nobody... Well, Baron Zeppeli, I guess, yeah. This definitely feels like a Zeppeli death. He died, but he died doing something incredible. For Baron Zeppeli, it was giving Jonathan the last of his Hamon. Caesar basically died the same way, except he died fighting Wamu. And this, I could see, this is definitely like that, where despite the fact that he died, he was able to get them what they needed, was what does the boss look like. Now, that looked different than Doppio. So I'm wondering if specifically... Because, we've seen when the boss takes over, Doppio's form changes. So I'm curious if it does, almost fully change his face, Which is why he would allow Doppio... Well, and that's, why he would allow Doppio to go out. And also the fact that makes Doppio such a great disguise, Because it seems like right now, even while he was going through, his face is pretty shadowed, but you still see mostly Doppio in there. So I think that's it, is that the boss's face is actually different from Doppio's face. So, but yeah, this definitely feels like a Zeppeli death, and hey, he's Italian, I feel like we haven't had a Zeppeli death in a little while. Because, we had... the first death... the big deaths in Part 3. We had Avdol. This is kind of like that in the fact that this just sort of happened, I like this better than Avdol's death. I thought Avdol's death was kind of dumb, where it's just like, oh, he's just fucking dead again. It's like, oh. Okay. Iggy's death was pretty good. Kakyoin's death, at least he figured out the world, So you could also say that this is kind of similar to Kakyoin's death, In Part 4, who died in Part 4? Shigechi? Nobody gives a shit about Shigechi. I know they made a big deal about it, but fuck it, That's I will say this, Shigechi's death is now on the it's the least of our big deaths. Of our two Zeppelis, Kakyoin and Abbacchio, Shigechi is no. But did anyone else die? Did anyone else die towards the end of Part 4? I can't remember. I don't think so. Okuyasu almost died, but then he didn't. Yeah, no, that was it. It was just Shigechi. No. And we still got some time left. Who knows what could happen? But honestly, I kind of like that, even though, yes, it's so sudden that I don't think I've even processed the fact that Abbacchio is dead, I don't even think I've processed that. I don't feel emotional, but it's just because it's so sudden, But just on that, it's but I do like that though, and especially too because I feel like this also builds off of, even though it wasn't fully for this, but writing out Fugo. I like that shit happens, Fugo was like, I can't do this. I'm not joining. And he's out. And now Abbacchio's dead. Who knows what will happen to the rest of the gang, I can only assume Giorno will make it out. Although, that is not a given. We've seen a Joestar die. We've seen a main Joestar die at the end of his part, so. Not that I see the boss winning, but I don't know. But yeah, Abbacchio's just dead, and I'm kind of down with that. Honestly, guys, I feel like this is what I've been waiting for, And I've definitely, because I always say, I've been saying that I've gotten softer, I've gotten more accepting of the Hitman team as it's gone on. And probably if I rewatch those episodes and stuff, I'll enjoy them a lot more now. But honestly, yeah, I feel like Part 5 absolutely trumps Part 3 and Part 4. Like, no question. I would say it might also top part 1, just because part 1 was really fucking confusing sometimes, you know? Where it's like, here's this magical sunlight energy. Now, would you like to know about the Knights of Mary, Queen of Scots? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know? Like, part 1 was so, like, out there and weird that it was hard. It was very hard for me to deal with it. Whereas this one, and it helps because I'm acclimated to it, you know? It's basically part 3 and part 4, you know, tripped and fell on their heads so that part 5 could, you know, walk successfully, you know? It's definitely that, because without part 3 and part 4, this would be a fucking roller coaster of weirdness. It still is, but I'm used to that now. So, there is definitely that, but honestly, in terms of story, this has to be second for me. At least second. I don't think I could, in good conscience, put this above Battle Tendency. Because Battle Tendency, honestly, it has the same thing where once you get to Battle Tendency, it's like, okay, I'm acclimated to vampires and hormone. I understand what all of that is. And hey, here's this cool, you know, Joseph's got his freaking shot glasses that he's using with hormone or the Tommy gun or whatever. Here's Zeppeli. I know what a Zeppeli is. Here's the Pillar Man. They're just big vampires. Like, okay, I can get behind all of this. They have their weird powers and such. Okay, that's fine. So part 1 and part 2 is kind of that, where it's like, okay, you need part 1 and you have to sit through part 1. And even though I enjoyed part 1, you really gotta just sort of sit there and just take whatever they're giving you. And then in part 2, you can actually appreciate it and enjoy what they're going for. And maybe you can go back to part 1 and then you can enjoy it more. The same thing is happening here, where part 3 and part 4 were definitely that, where it's like, okay, I need to get acclimated to stand use and stuff. It's crazy that it took so many more episodes for me to finally get acclimated to stand users and stuff. But it's like, okay, here's this stuff. It's good. It's interesting. All right. But now it's time to tell a really good story with this stuff, you know? Because part 3 is okay. It's an adventure until you get to, you know, the memes and such with Dio. Part 4 does not have an interesting story. It has interesting characters. I love Josuke, I love Kira, I love their stands, all that's fine. Very interesting characters. The story is boring as shit. Part 5, they finally figured out what the hell they're doing, where it's like, part 5 is a really interesting story, this whole mafia story, but also this, like, mafia, civil war, rebellion type story, and also, you know, ghost dudes that punch shit, you know? And they all have interesting powers, and it's in a way that even when there's a stand where, you know, on principle I might disagree with, like Six Bullets or Spicy Lady, I can understand it, and I do at least enjoy those stands and the characters attached to them. So, honestly, I've really, really enjoyed part 5, you know? Like, this has given me, like, so much renewed interest in JoJo, because I fucking took a beating in part 4. And I know that's me. That is obviously a controversial opinion. I'm pretty sure, you know, part 4 is one of those, like, highly regarded ones. I couldn't get into it, honestly. Like, I got into the characters, but they rarely wrote decent episodes around them. Again, when the biggest death in part 4 is Shigechi, I don't care. I really don't care, you know? It was an interesting episode because we got to know Kira, but I didn't give two shits about Shigechi. Don't even get me started on that. There ain't no fucking... none of that in part 5. No fucking Cyrus Truesdale trying to be a main character. But yeah, all this to say, I still haven't processed that Abbacchio is dead, but fuck, I like it. I mean, obviously, I wish Abbacchio was still alive, but the fact that this part has the balls to do that, to just, like, he's just dead, bye. and a guy who, he must be a fan favorite. I feel like he has to be a fan favorite character, you know? Like, he feels like a fan favorite. Like, he's really interesting. His design is so good. And I love his stand. It's a shame we're not going to have any more Moody Jazz, because Moody Jazz is one of my favorite stands, you know? But all in all, like, that's good. I'm okay with this. I'm definitely okay with this. This is on top of Risotto's death as well, where he still used Lil Bomber to get to him. But I mean, that was clever, Risotto taking over Lil Bomber to try to shoot him. But yeah, you just gotta use King Crimson to take yourself out of time, or whatever that was. Again, even though you guys told me that when I was deciphering what King Crimson does, apparently I got really, really close. Like, I pretty much nailed it. I'm still not going to, like, whenever King Crimson does something, I'm not going to put too much thought into it, you know? Because it's just like, okay, he did a thing and now he won. And we move on, you know? Like, I can't put too much on it, you know? But yeah. And I love that scene with his old cop buddy, you know? Like, that was really good, just him, and that's really good closure. Like, I feel like, I don't know, like, I feel like there would be moments where, like, that wouldn't happen, but I like that, you know, in this sort of afterlife, he meets up with the man that took the bullet for him, and he's like, hey, I'm proud of you, you know? You didn't waver. You still were trying to find justice, and yeah, everything you did was in service of that. You were a good man. And it's like, oh, fucking yes, this is great. So I really like that. And even with his death, again, very much like Kakyoin, I mean, he was able to figure out something important about the main villain while getting donuted, you know, becoming a donut, getting a freaking hole in his torso. It's exactly the same as Kakyoin, you know? He managed to figure out the boss's identity, and he left that imprinted on there with Moody Jazz. So yeah. So yes, it is definitely a shame. It does suck that he's dead, but the way they did it is really, really good. And yeah, fucking this part. This is what I've been waiting for like 2 years, you know? This is what I've been waiting for since Battle Tendency, is another really fucking good part, you know? And this is it. And my hope is that this continues, that part 6, whenever they animate part 7 and 8, and whenever part 9 or whatever happens, I hope this keeps up and we don't repeat part 3 and part 4, you know? But we will have to see. We'll have to see. But on the upside, we still got a long way to go in part 5, and I'm excited to see where we're going. But that is basically it. With all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist for all of my JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reactions, as well as another video you can go click on if you want. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.